Welcome back, fight fans. We're back for another one, another UFC Vegas, 2 weeks in a row. Of course, next week, though, we're back to the pay per view. That'll be in Newark, I believe. That's going to be a good one. But this is looking like one of those cards. I don't know. um, in fact, actually, we can't even. There are a lot of changes happening to this card I've heard about, and then they haven't even switched the odds on a lot of the sites. Tapology doesn't even actually, I don't even know if Tapology even has all the changes yet. So yeah, it's looking like one of those weirder cards to get through, that's for sure. But it seems like the main card is the same. It seems like the main card hasn't really changed. So, I mean, we're definitely going to be going through the main card. Might not be able to do the parlays, though. We'll see. I mean, it's just how it goes. Excuse me. But before we get to that, we will go through, of course, what happened last week. UFC Vegas apparently 71. Apparently, I was wrong about it now. That's embarrassing. But yeah, UFC Vegas 71. We'll get right on into that. And we'll start with the prelims as always. That opened with actually one of the prelims that I talked about last time. Brady Heastand, Dana Batgetty or Batgetty Dana, who knows? Who knows at this point? I picked Dana by finish, and wow, were we close. I mean, it was just one of those fights. It's like I still think, I mean, I fully believe that I made the right pick. He was winning the whole fight, and then right at the end, weird stoppage. I don't know. It was weird. It was a weird one. It was just one of those fights. It really was. Very slow start from both guys. Dana the one walking forward, landing better early. He stand throwing kicks. He stand then through the first takedown, but was shut down along the fence. Moved back to the striking. Dana then started to land more and more. Clipped him, stumbled him back. He stand struggling a bit more as the round went on. Clearly lost the round to Dana. And I mean, this is what I was getting at last episode, where it was like, Dana is clearly better on the feet. He's got the power, can easily get the finish. And we did see that almost. We almost saw the finish on multiple occasions there. Second round. So obviously won the first round. Second round, Dana comes in with the takedown. Bit of a weird choice. Dropped Heastand on his back, forcing Heastand to panic wrestle a little bit. Knockdown. Knockdown. Sorry, my bad. Now I'm not confused. Knockdown, which is what I was saying. So clearly he knew, okay, I really do have the power and the striking advantage. Got the knockdown literally right away in the second round. Heastand starts to panic wrestle, gets a brief takedown, but was just getting ripped apart by these elbows. Dana gets back up a couple of times. Heastand covered in blood at this point. We haven't seen a bloody fight in a long time. I love him. That's my favorite. It really is my favorite. Amazingly, Heastand got in a pretty good spot. Took the back of Dana, looking for a sub. Um, he was in control for quite a bit. Did have some good attempts, but eventually Dana started to get out of it. Got himself on top. More ground and pound elbows. Pretty clearly won the round again. And like I said, I mean, he almost got the finish at the start of the second round. He's 2 rounds up. Like I said, I stand by the pick. I don't regret the pick at all. Clearly, I was correct. It was definitely the right choice. Third round, Heastand looking pretty slow, a lot slower, face busted up. Closer round, though. This was definitely the closest round. Dana still landing a bit more. I mean, this is the only reason why I was worried about picking Dana in the first place, was because of that cardio. I just figured he was going to get the finish earlier, which again, he almost did. Heastand started to get something going, landed a big one, dragged Dana down. It was nearing the end of the fight, though. So, excuse me. So I was a little bit worried about it. Not too worried, though. Then he started to land a lot of ground and pound. Then I got a little bit worried, and then it was just too late. The ref stopped it, completely undeserved win. I mean, it was, to be honest, it was one of those ones where it was like, wow, you know? It's one of those ones where it's like, oh, I wish we had one of the normal refs. I mean, I think this was kind of the case of, I think some of the good refs ended up going to Hawaii to go to Bellator. So we were left with some of the refs that we don't normally see. And normally that's okay. But this one was actually a ref that I don't think I had ever even seen before, which is saying a lot because I watch a lot. Um, so I genuinely I don't remember seeing this ref ever before. So it was kind of one of those where it's like, oh, it's not a good ref, and we got a terrible stoppage. And with I can't even remember how long was left in the fight. It was like a minute, minute and a half at the most. Actually, it might have even been like 30 seconds. I can't remember. I think it was actually like a minute, minute and a half though. I can't remember though, honestly. Either way, it was kind of like that was a bad stoppage, and then we lose. Brutal, brutal. It happens. I don't know what else to say. Just a bad result, honestly, for that first one. Second fight, William Gomi, Francis Marshall. I wouldn't really say this was a bad result. It was a little strange. Another split decision. I mean, it was just a weird. It was one of those nights. I gotta say, it wasn't as bad as what we've seen before, but it was definitely one of those nights that make you question why we're even betting on this sport. Both guys looked quick early. Gomi throwing out his kicks, Marshall waiting to land his bombs, rocked him early. I mean, no surprises here. Gomi landing some big kicks, busting up the body, I should say, and the face of Marshall a little bit. Marshall throwing in a bit of grappling, smart, Gomi into the fence. Dead even round, to be honest. I mean, I had it, I score them 10-10 as they should be. So I had that 10-10, but if I had to pick one, possibly go me by damage, but I don't know. It was close. Again, should be 10-10. That's what they should be. Second round, Marshall getting a bit more aggressive, walking forward. Gomi started to grapple a bit. Don't know why. Shut down pretty quickly. That was a bit weird. I don't know why he would have started to do that. Strike accuracy, they showed 8%. 8% for Marshall. I mean, clearly you can kind of tell where the fight's going by that point if you see those stats, which again, that's when you see that, it's kind of like, okay, probably the first round was go me if that's the truth. If that's the case, I mean, great movement by Gomi. Obviously, that was the problem, which is why I thought Marshall was gonna take a grappling approach to this. That's why I actually picked him in the first place. And well, I mean, I didn't. I don't think Yeah, no, this wasn't one of the picks, but I did pick Marshall, and I included him in the parlays because he's just he's a really good grappler on top of being a really good striker. So I figured he would take advantage of the gap in grappling from Gomi to then overcome this. And I don't really know why he wasn't really using it early. He did not use it for the first uh, ba- 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 2 rounds maybe. He didn't really use it. So it's kind of like that's a bit weird. Gomi standing a little you're still landing a bit from a distance with the kicks, definitely winning that second round. So Gomi was definitely winning that second round for sure. So could have been up 2, who knows. Definitely worried about the picks at that point. Third round, Marshall getting a little more aggressive again, walking forward. Gomi landing his kicks from a distance again. Finally, Marshall gets the big takedown, took his back. Sub got in deep, deep, like super, super. I actually thought, oh, finally, oh my goodness, Marshall's going to steal the win back after those 2 first rounds. Man. And then Gomi slips out of it. But then he got stuck in another deep one. got hit by some ground and pound. I mean, it was a pretty obvious Marshall round. And I mean, it was all because of the grappling, which is exactly why I'm saying, why did he not go earlier? Second round, especially after the first round, it's that close. You see, it's that close. Second round, you go for the grappling, switch it up a bit. At least try it in the second round. But it didn't, it just didn't really happen. It just didn't really happen. I don't know. If he would have gone with the grappling earlier, I really do think we would have gotten the other result. Instead, split decision loss. It was 29-28 in either direction. And then, of course, the third judge, 29-28 for Gomi. So it was close. And I actually, this is one of the rare occasions where it's like, well, I wouldn't say too rare, but it's definitely somewhat rare that I think, okay, when I hear the split decision go, it's like, I kind of, okay, that kind of makes sense. Because really, that first round, no idea. No idea who won that. And the second and third rounds were pretty obvious, being split both ways. So totally makes sense. Don't have a problem with the judges on that one. The only thing I have a problem with is that strategy for Marshall. I don't really know why. It just should have been a grappling strategy right from the beginning. That really should have just been the obvious strategy. Gomi is a pure striker. He doesn't grapple. It just should have been the obvious choice to just grapple the entire time. I don't know. I don't know. Weird one. And that was a bad loss. That was a bad loss to take for us because he was in the parlays. He was also one of the biggest favorites on the card. So just in general, if you're stringing together large favorites on the parlays, that would have been a really bad loss. That would have been a really bad loss for you. Yeah, that was a rough one. Third fight, Mohammed Usman Jr. Tafa. This would have been another one that was a bit rough, really. I'm genuinely a little bit surprised about this one. A little bit, only a little bit though, and we'll get to that after. Usman making the first move with a takedown attempt. Obviously, he's not a good striker. Usman not a striker by any means. In fact, he is terrible at striking. I will go out on a limb and say that he is an awful heavyweight striker. He's not good. Going against Junior Tafa, who is a kickboxer. So to me, it was like, I don't know how Tafa doesn't get a knockout here. I'd be surprised if he didn't get a knockout. So that's why I was riding hard with Junior Tafa on this. I really was. But anyway, obvious strategy from Usman. Smart, which is what Marshall should have done. Go towards the grappling. Did control him along the fence. Not landing anything, though. No damage whatsoever from Usman. And then Tafa started to let loose, landed some heavy shots, obviously won the first round. I don't know how you wouldn't see it that way. I mean, exactly, because like Usman doesn't do damage. He's just controlling people and laying on top of them. Not good. Excuse me. So obvious first round for Tafa. Second round, Tafa just absolutely lighting him up on the feet. Was not close at all for that second round, at least for that part of it. Usman just wobbling all over the cage. And like I said, I really thought there was going to be a finish right there. I was like, okay, well, he's obviously getting a finish now. This is insane. Usman then trying to go for a takedown, actually got it this time, and then just found himself on top. Tafa stuck down there. Usman not really doing a whole lot, really just holding the position and winning the round. And to be honest, now that I'm actually, excuse me, reading that, to be honest, it actually seems a bit ridiculous that Usman won that fight. Because if it's true that Tafa stole the first round, the early damage from Tafa should have then won him the second round because Usman didn't really do any damage in the second either. So now that I'm actually thinking about it, if you're scoring it properly, it probably should have been Tafa up 2-0 at that point. But you know, like this is what we're getting into. It's like we count damage later in the round, but not early in the round. We count damage in some fights and not the others. Like what is damage? What's not damage? What how much to I don't know. I don't know anymore. I don't even know. And I feel like I'm one of the ones that's kind of on top of the scoring thing where it's like this is how it should be scored all the time. This is how it should be scored. This is how it should be scored. And then I see this even in my own notes and I'm like, that actually doesn't make sense. It kind of should be Tafa up 2 rounds if you're talking about damage. He was wobbling all over the cage. Usman was wobbling all over the cage. Like, and Usman didn't really get a whole lot of damage himself. So it's like, why did Tafa not win the first 2 rounds then even on my cards? That's just silly. I don't know. The whole thing is falling apart. The world is crumbling around us. Who knows? Um, So really, it should have been probably 2-0 for Tafa after 2, but I scored it 1-1 like the judges did at that point. Stupid. See, even I fell for it. Third round, Tafa doing well on the feet again. Usman going for a takedown, getting it. At this point, really, I mean, Tafa was just stuck on the ground for the rest of the entire fight. He did get back up with a minute left. I mean, it was a little bit too late. He needed a finish. Didn't quite get it. He landed a couple of pretty big ones at the end of the fight, which again, if we're being real, that was the only damage. Again, Tafa's the only one who did any damage at all. So it's like, even then, could you not argue that he won all 3 of the rounds? Right? So it's like, what is scoring? What do the points even mean at this point? Like, it's just I don't even know. I truly don't even know because even myself, reading my own notes, I'm thinking, wow, that really doesn't make any sense. That actually probably should have been 3-0 for Tafa instead of 2-1 for Usman, which is how I originally scored it. 29-28 for Usman. I actually agreed with the judges. All 3 of them had it like that. But again, when you really think about it, Usman didn't do any damage, and Tafa was doing a lot of damage all 3 rounds. So it's kind of like, if you're really scoring it to how we're supposed to be scoring it now, Tafa probably should have won all 3 rounds. I don't know. Like, truly, like, what do you even say to that anymore? I don't even know. I don't even know. So we're just going to move on. Norma Dumont, Carol Hosa, I think it's Hosa, I was very confident about Dumont winning this fight. Like, I don't know why she wasn't a fairly significant favorite. I mean, she's been fighting at featherweight. She's been beating people pretty easily at featherweight. She I don't know, she's just been looking really good, and Carol Hosa has been losing at bantamweight. So to me, it was kind of like, why is Dumont not the massive favorite in this? So I definitely had some money on Dumont, and I put her in quite a few different bets because I was actually fairly confident about this one. Not too many of them though, because it's still women's MMA and featherweight women's MMA, which is probably the worst thing you could possibly bet on. So I didn't want to put way too much emphasis on it, but I was fairly confident she was going to get the win. Either way, very slow start from both. Kind of expected that. Rojosa looking faster with her strikes, but not really a whole lot from either side. Dumont then started to control the fight in a clinch along the fence. Ref separated them along the fence. Why are we doing this still? Weird, because that was not, I even wrote that down here. That was not done in the Usman fight. So you let Usman clinch somebody along the fence for a few minutes, yet when Dumont does it, oh, let's separate them up. Let's get them back to striking. Like, at least be consistent. You're still wrong by separating them, but at least be consistent fight to fight. It's a bit ridiculous, really. With that control and a couple of strikes after that, I mean, it seemed like a pretty clear Dumont round. I mean, Hosa never really did anything. So, second round, Dumont, a lot more active now, landing some heavy combos early, stumbling Hosa a bit. walking her down. Hosa's face busted up now along the fence, blood starting to stream out of her eyes. Crazy sight. You don't normally see that, actually. It was like literally like tears of blood. It was like, whoa, okay, that's something else. Hosa then ended up reversing her, controlling her from there, but not really doing anything. And I mean, damage, literally tears of blood coming out. So obvious round for Dumas, I would say. So again, pretty clearly up 2 rounds to nothing. So already it was like, okay, cool, cashed it, cashed the check. Slow, excuse me. Slower to start the round again, back and forth on the feet, then straight into the fence again with Dumas controlling. You don't need to get crazy. You're 2 rounds up probably. Hosa reversed, but was briefly thrown down to the canvas. Then, biggest moment of the fight, Hosa landed a bomb, dropped Dumas to the canvas. Hosa then pushed her into the fence after, which was a bit of a weird choice because if you drop somebody, why are you pushing them into the fence? You should obviously just keep going with the striking. With another quick takedown from there from Hosa, seemed like a pretty clear round for her. So, 29-28, pretty obviously for Dumas. But I mean, the first round was fairly close, so I wouldn't have been shocked if a judge went the other way, giving it to Hosa. But thankfully, all 3 judges did have it 29-28 for Dumas. I think that was pretty clear. I don't think there was any arguing that. But like I said, first round, I guess it was close. So again, maybe could have seen it, but still seemed pretty clear. After that, Montel Jackson, Ronnie Yaya. That was a much quicker one. I actually thought Ronnie Yaya was going to last a little longer, if I'm being honest. Jackson looked good early, landing a bunch of quick shots from a distance. Jackson, quick combos, stumbled Yaya. Then Yaya did get the takedown that he wanted, of course. I mean, that's obviously what he was looking for. Took a while, but Jackson did get back up, landed those kicks again. And then it was all over. Jackson landed a bomb, dropped Yaya on his back, ground and pound for the finish. Easy win. And easy cash in for the parlays there, of course, too, for Montel Jackson. Excuse me. And we got a message. Got the performance bonus. Yes, he did. Montel Jackson. Then we had fight number 6, Christos Giagos, who, by the way, I did pick as an underdog there. I don't really know why people were so high on Ricky Glenn going into this. I saw that he was the favorite. I even saw on Tapology. A lot of people picked him. Wasn't really sure why, especially when I looked over the tape. It seemed like Christos Giagos seemed like a better choice. And we cashed in the underdog. How about that? Giagos throwing heavy kicks, landing well early, and then it was going back and forth, fairly close. And then out of nowhere, Giagos stiffens Glenn like a board, and that was it. Insane finish, truly, from Christos Giagos on that one. And that was one of those underdogs that did cash in. I mean, how many? It was like, I think it was 6 underdogs. That's crazy. We only had 10 winners, of course, because Green, that one sucked, but then no winner out of that one. So 6 out of the 10 were underdogs. How about that? How about that? Then we got to the main card. Wells and Semmelsberger. My choice last time being Jeremiah Wells on this one. I picked Wells by decision, which again seemed to be an unusual choice. I saw a lot of people picking the finish. Again, on Tapology, most people did pick the finish. So got another good one there. It was a good night for me, even with all the underdogs winning. Both guys came in hard, seemed to be Semi the Jedi that landed first, wobbled Wells right away. From there, I wrote down Tornado of Violence. That's what seemed to be happening there. Both guys throwing crazy. It seemed to be Semmelsberger that landed better, though. And then a little bit of resting along the fence. Wells then got a takedown, got himself on top, ground and pound. Now Wells seemed to be ahead there. ground and pound from yeah, from Wells. I still reading my notes. Huge shots, grabbed another big takedown after that, more ground and pound. Uh Matt almost grabbed the finish. Oh yeah, Matt almost grabbed the finish early in the round, of course, as I mentioned, but Wells probably stole back the round with with the second half of the round. So I gave it to Wells in the first round. Second round, opened the same way this round with Wells getting dropped. Turned stiff, actually. It looked pretty bad. I was like, oh shit. I think he just got finished. And Matt landed on top of him. I was pretty worried, actually. Got back up quick, but was clearly hesitant to throw now, slowed down quite a bit. Wells then shot in, grabbed another takedown, started to regain that controlled the rest of the round completely, just like before, ground and pound. May have won that round too, but again, back and forth, really tough to tell. Yeah, exactly. I'll put that up because the fight made me think how the judging is different each time because he did get dropped twice, and I believe twice, I believe, and yet he won. Yeah, and that you actually were. I think you must have you just missed what we just talked about in the which fight was that? Oh yeah, the Mohammed Usman and Junior Tafa fight, because that is quite literally what I just said, and how no joke I scored it for Usman for Usman winning as well, because this is very similar. I scored it for Usman, but when I look back at the notes, Tafa got all the damage in all 3 rounds. Usman didn't get any damage going at all in the second and third, and yet even I scored it for Usman. So now I'm looking back and I'm like, if Tafa got all the damage, how did Tafa not get all 3 rounds on the cards? And that really just, like I said, goes to what you just said too. It's like if somebody gets a knockdown and then doesn't really, then the opponent doesn't really get a whole lot of damage themselves. It's like, how do they not win the round? So you're right. It's like with Semi getting the knockdown especially in the second, and I think was it the third round as well? He definitely got the knockdown in the second. Yeah, well, yeah, the Usman one was a harder watch, though, for sure. Yeah, it definitely was. But it's that same concept. It's like Tafa got all the damage, so how did he not win all 3 rounds? And it's the same thing here. You're right. With Semmelsberger getting a knockdown in 2 of the rounds, how does he not get 2 out of the 3 rounds? I'm not sure. I'm not sure because honestly, I've said this before. I feel like I'm pretty good at scoring the fights. I'm pretty reasonable about it. But now I'm kind of looking back here too, and I'm kind of like, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense either. Because I ended up having, what did I have here? Well, we'll get to that because I didn't get to the end of it. Second round, yeah, I thought maybe Wells may have won the second round too because he got the round back, a lot of ground and pound, because the ground and pound does count for something. Because Usman didn't get ground and pound. That's where the fight kind of separates it. That's why I'm kind of thinking really Tafa should have won that fight. But back to this one. Yeah, Wells might have grabbed it back with the ground and pound because, yeah, Semi got the knockdown, but Wells got back up pretty quick and then he controlled the rest of the round with the ground and pound. But you're right. How do you score these things? I don't know. Literally every week I go back to talking about scoring because it is ridiculous how we still don't seem to know who's winning these rounds. It's absurd. Where are we here? Now I'm lost. Yeah, so for me, I actually had Wells up 2-0, but I did write down here on both of those. It's like any of these rounds could have gone either way. It's really just a toss up at that point. Third round, Matt opened up the same way again, landed a couple of good ones on Wells. But Wells did not get dropped in the third round. I actually wrote that down here. Pushed the fight into the fence, got the takedown. Wells looked surprisingly fresh, actually, which is kind of why, I mean, obviously, you would have scored the round already after the second round is done. But it kind of just goes to the fact that maybe Wells really wasn't all that hurt because he did look very fresh in the third round. He looked completely fine. So I don't know. But again, you can't retroactively score a round just because Wells looks fine. I mean, that's not how it works. After a couple of minutes, though, Matt did manage to get back up. Wells got him back down again, controlled him the rest of the round. That was an obvious round. That was pretty clearly a Wells round in the third. So, really, again, it just comes down to how you score the first and the second. So, I don't know. I mean, I guess I kind of had it. I don't even know. Because I really didn't even score it because I was kind of like, this is so close. I don't even know how to score it, except for the third one. Um, so at worst, I guess I had it 29-28 for Wells because of the first. I don't know. Either way, judges had it 30-27 for Wells, 30-27 for Wells. So two of them had it 30-27, and then one had it 29-28 for Semmelsberger. How that keeps happening where we get that's literally a 5 point, that's a what is that? Well, technically not a 5 point swing, but you know what I mean. One guy gets 30 on somebody's card, 27 on that's a 3 point swing, I guess. Math. But yeah, when you see that, it's kind of like that really should not be possible if you have a scoring system that works. So, yeah, I don't even know what else to say about that. I mean, I had Wells. I don't know. How did you have it? How did you have it? Did you have Wells? It seems like you probably had semi with the knockdowns, which would make sense. I mean, I can't even argue against that. Again, that which is exactly why it's like, how are we scoring these things? Excuse me. Next up, though, well, if you're gonna, oh, okay. I end up getting lost judging myself sometimes. Yeah, yeah. Usually, I will say though, usually I'm pretty confident, or I'll write in my notes, could have gone either way. That one was definitely a hard one, because it really was like there's knockdowns from both sides. Well, not actually not even both sides. There's knockdowns, takedowns, damage from both sides, uh, you know, and it's all happening all in the same round. It's not like it was like everything in one round, everything in the second round. It's like no, it's like both of them were having some pretty good moments. Yeah, knockdowns should have mattered more. Yeah, I mean, that's tough to argue with too. It's like, how yeah, I don't know, like, how you can't even really argue with that. Yeah, they should count more. And yet, once again, I'm scoring it for Wells, even though I agree with you that yeah, that probably well, actually, I don't even know where I lost my train of thought there. I was reading. Plus, it depends on how invested I am in the fights. Fairly casual. That's fair. That's fair. I feel like some people get a little bit biased too, like, oh, I bet on this person, so now I'm scoring it kind of the wrong way. Or some people just be like, I'm a huge fan of this person, so they kind of score it that way. I really do try and keep out of it for sure. Keep the biases out. Because when I make my bets, that's it for me. I push all that out and then focus on the fights and try and score them properly. But yeah, it's tough. And yeah, I mean, it's also true, like, if you're not even paying attention fully to the fight, can you really score it properly if you're not watching it super intently? I don't know. I have had problems like that too, or where like I'm trying to type out what's happening in the fight and I might miss something and then maybe that gets skewed in how I'm scoring the fights. I don't know. There's so many influences. You kind of have to do one thing at a time if you're really going to score it properly. You either can be a fan or you're going to be a journalist and you're writing or you're going to be a judge and you're scoring it. You kind of have to let something fall. You can't really do all three or even two of the things at a time reasonably. Anyway, enough of that fight. Then we had Bobby Green, Jared Gordon. I mean, just really unfortunate in every single aspect. I mean, obviously had the Green finish going into it. That was the prediction. Technically, I got that, but not really. Green looking dangerous right away with his stance, slipping in and out of range. Obviously, looks badass as always. So cool. And also just really effective striking. Gordon moving pretty well, defending fairly well, landing a little bit, but definitely getting outclassed on the feet. I mean, it really wasn't even close. Halfway through the round, though, Gordon was starting to land a little bit more, stumbled Green a bit, shot in for a takedown, stuffed. Then, of course, we saw what happened. Awful, awful clash of heads. And by the way, actually, unlike some people, because I have seen some mixed comments about this one, I actually saw that it was the clash of heads right away, and I was like, "Oh fuck, that's that's got to be a no contest immediately." I was like, "Oh man, that is absolutely brutal." Unlike, I would say, the Chris Curtis one, I actually didn't notice that was a clash of heads right away until, of course, the replay. This one though was like, oh shit, that was a clash of heads. Um, yeah, and then of course Green goes in for the ground and pound finish, gets that. I mean, obviously, there is no question that should be a no contest. I mean, with the review, with everything, I mean, it was like, yeah, there's no question. That's a no contest all day. Um, yeah, no question about that. So I'm glad that they got that figured out and they did that. He didn't know for a while. I'm not sure who he is in that case, but I feel like a lot of people didn't know. Yeah, for a little bit. Oh yeah, Green. Oh yeah, you're probably talking about Green. Yeah, Green didn't really know for a while. I saw the interview too, and he also talked about it too. That he thought he thought he actually possibly landed the elbow, but then weirdly enough, when I was watching the interview with Ariel, I was actually watching it this morning. I'm a little bit behind. He actually said that he felt it on his forehead, that he did hit his forehead on Gordon. So it's kind of like, if you felt that you got the clash of heads, how do you think you got the finish then? To me, it's kind of like, you know, like I don't know. That's where it kind of falls apart for me, because it's like he clearly knew it was a clash of heads. So it's kind of like, well, how do you think you got a finish then if there was a clash of heads, he falls down immediately and then you get a finish like 10, 15 seconds later. I don't really know how you could expect to get your finish upheld there. I'm not really sure. I don't know, but I did in his interview though. It seemed like he just didn't give a fuck. He literally just said, "We're in a fight. Who cares if it was a clash of heads? You seem to be into the fight. You were still fighting back. It's not like he was, completely out of it." And I will say that is a valid point. I mean, a half valid point. I mean, clearly, Gordon, you're right. Gordon was fighting back, but at the same time, it's like that was a pretty bad clash of heads. So I don't know. Yeah, King. You should say, actually, technically, if you watch the interview with Ariel, his name is not King Green. It is just King. It is not King Green or Bobby King or anything else. It is literally King. One word. That's it. So, well, we'll remember that for future reference. But yes, he did clear that up, because I also thought it was King Green. It is not. It is just King. But yeah, I mean, I think the right thing happened. Also, I will say, a lot of people shitting on Paul Felder. I don't know. To be honest, when I was watching it, I didn't even think he was getting emotional, to be honest. I mean, like, when I rewatched it actually a second time just to see what people were talking about. When I rewatched it, I was like, okay, maybe it was a little bit extra, if anything, a little bit extra. But to be honest, I didn't really have a problem with it, because that was kind of similar to my reaction too. I was like, "Oh, fuck, like, that's a terrible clash of heads." Like, not even like, "Oh, that's shitty for Gordon. Oh, that's shitty for Green too." It's just like, "Oh, man, like, that just sucks." Like, that is a shitty result. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, "That does suck. You're right, Felder, that does suck." I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think they were also that is true. I'll put that up there too because that's an interesting perspective. Doesn't want commentary to mess up the clips in case it was a knockout. Yeah, that is interesting too. But it's also like they've been constantly catching fire for bias, which, by the way, I think is ridiculous. I mean, in some cases, I will say, in some cases, do we see a little bit of maybe favorable commentary towards some people? Maybe a little bit, but it's not as bad as people make it out to be. Like, I've never once thought, wow, like Cormier is completely shitting all over one person for no reason and they don't deserve it. Like, I've never once thought that too. I've never once thought that. I think it's just ridiculous. Okay, you think it's silly too. I do too. And I hear it all the time. I see it all over Twitter. It's like, oh, Cormier is so biased. Bisping is biased, which, by the way, is absurd. Bisping does not give a fuck about anything. If you think he's biased, you're out of your mind. He doesn't care. So yeah, that's just ridiculous. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of what they were getting at, is they're thinking, oh, Felder, because he's friends with Gordon, is biased and he's trying to influence things with making a whole stink about it. It's like, no, I honestly didn't even see that. I didn't see that in him at all. All I saw was he's just pissed that there's a clash of heads and that somebody might be robbed of just that the loss shows up instead of it being a no contest. That's what it seemed like to me, and that's what I was scared of too, because what literally just happened to Chris Curtis. He kind of was robbed right there. That really should have been a no contest if we're being honest, looking back on it. And Bobby Green actually said that too in the interview. He said the opposite. He said that, well, if the Chris Curtis fight kept going, why was my fight stopped for a no contest? It's like, wow. I don't even know how to argue something that dumb, but still, it is a solid point on the one hand, just because it's like, why wasn't the Chris Curtis fight stopped? That's really what you should be taking away from that, is if the Gordon fight was stopped because of that, the the Chris Curtis fight should have been stopped as well. I don't know. I don't know. Oh yeah, it's in the Apex. Everything is easier to see. Yeah. Oh, that's a solid point. Yeah. I mean, you do have to remember too that, yeah, the ref in the Chris Curtis fight didn't know it was a clash of heads until after. So you can't retroactively stop it. Like, you can't, after the second round, stop the fight and call it a no contest. At least I don't think you can. I mean, the rules are pretty unclear about that kind of thing, I feel like. Like, I don't know if you can stop the fight after the second round is over when the ref then finds out that it's a clash of heads that led to that, or do you just tell the judges it was a clash of heads and then they adjust the score? Like, but again, then it's like, now you're fucking with the score when you know it's a clash of heads. So at that point, again, it should be a no contest, because now you're altering scorecards because of it. And it's just like, I don't even know. Like, how do you deal with that? Again, you need clarity in these rules for sure. I mean, I don't even know. Again, I don't even know. I don't even know how to respond to that for sure. But yeah, you are right for sure. Because it's in the Apex, it is a lot easier to hear and see for sure, and less crowd influence, because we all know Gastelum was getting the crowd love in that fight for sure. So you can definitely say that could have influenced things quite a bit as well. So I don't know. It's just a tough situation. But in this case, I will say, I think it was completely 100% handled the way it should have been. No contest. So I actually, yeah, I don't think I haven't heard any updates on that Chris Curtis one, because he was contesting that. And to be honest, when you look back on it, even actually at the time, well, no, actually, when I was watching it, I was like, okay, well, that's like I just said, you can't stop it now. So you just got to deal with it now. But, yeah, you need a revision on the judging and rules overall message in general. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about that a lot here, actually, about the judging too. But yeah, when you see stuff like this, it's kind of into the rules itself, like the actual reffing of it at that point. Yeah, it's tough. It is tough. I am interested to see what happens with Chris Curtis though, because he did end up challenging it, taking it to the commission, and I kind of agree actually that it kind of should be probably a no contest because he was winning the fight, and I've actually talked to Curtis before too, not about this, and he's a pretty cool guy, but I'm not even just saying this because of that. And I actually said this weeks ago too, when it happened too. I was like, really, it did influence, it changed the entire fight because Gastelum won the first. The second round, Curtis was winning very clearly the second round, and then Curtis wins the third. And the only reason that Gastelum won the second round is because of the knockdown, which was not a knockdown, it was a clash of heads. So, if you eliminate that, then Curtis wins 29-28. So it's kind of like because of a clash of heads, he really actually did lose because of a clash of heads, which that's terrible. So I kind of see why actually, I 100% see why he challenged it. I just don't know. I don't think they're going to go back on it though. I'd be a little surprised, but I am very interested to see how that turns out. And I haven't heard any updates since. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. After that, it was a co-main event, Tavares and Silva. I went with Tavares, but it was kind of I wasn't really sure kind of a pick. Just have to hope for karma. Oh man. If Chris Curtis is the one looking for karma, holy shit, he's going to be waiting for a while. Super nice guy, but my god, does he get fucked over with these with these results constantly. It is unbelievable how unlucky of a guy he really is. I'm trying to think of the other time that he got super unlucky with what happened. Now I can't remember, but it was one of the other fights and he lost and I was just thinking, wow, that was a garbage way to lose. I think it was a split decision or something like that. I can't remember now. Yeah, I think he was on the wrong side of a split decision that seemed like some garbage. Oh yeah, and then of course the Hermanson fight. Yeah, the guy's not the guy's not having a good couple years. Rough time. Rough time for Chris Curtis for sure. Anyway, oh yeah, both guys taking it easy early. Tavares landing a couple of combos and kicks, stumbling Silva a couple of times. Tavares just looked quicker and cleaner. Jack Hermanson is the last loss. Yeah. But there was a split decision in there too, I think it was just before that or something. I can't remember honestly. That was like, oh, that's bad. That's rough. Anyway, yeah, then the momentum shifted as Silva landed a bomb, rocked Tavares, couple more combos. Tavares was on his back. Ref stopped it. To me, this was another really weird, slightly early stoppage. I don't know. Again, I said this in the first fight of the night too. That one was a little weird as well. Yeah, I don't know. Again, and I even said this before actually. And again, you came. I'm not trying to shit on you that you came in late. Obviously, I'm just glad that you're here. To be honest, but in the first fight, I was saying there too, because Bellator was in Hawaii, we saw a lot of the regular refs that we normally see here at Bellator in Hawaii instead of being here at the Apex, which means we had some weird refs going on. We had some weird refs in this one. And I thought there was a pretty clear mistake in the first fight because of that. And I don't know who was reffing this one. I mean, it was a co-main, so it probably wasn't one of the newer ones. But again, it's like this was another kind of weird early stoppage where it's like should have really let Tavares go a little bit longer. And we do see that more on the not regional shows, the shows that are on the road. Like Kansas City was like, what the fuck, it's all those shows like that because we don't have the regular refs. We don't necessarily have Herb Dean, in Kansas City, in Houston. He maybe he won't be in Canada. You never know with these ones. So it's like unless you've got the best refs around, you're gonna have stuff like this constantly, and it's just brutal, absolutely brutal, especially on these weird stoppages. um, which is actually scary because I was watching the BFL, Battlefield Fight League, on their last card, and I saw one of the worst stoppages I have ever seen, and that was in Vancouver, remember? So, could you imagine if we got that ref because he's in Vancouver? Could you imagine if he's the one reffing some of these fights for the pay-per-view? You don't know. Like, you don't know who's gonna be reffing these fights. We're probably not gonna be getting all the same ones that we saw that we see all the time in the States. This is a different country. They might not even be certified in Canada, BC, So it's like we could be getting a couple of these exactly, don't speak it. Watch it be the same guy and we get just completely fucked over with something. I Yeah, I could really see that happening, and that's what I mean. It's like, oh man, like when you see this stuff on a regional level, and then you actually go to that city, it's kind of like, oh boy, I hope we don't get these guys, but you can, because we even saw it. I forget where it was. This was within the last couple months. It was like one of his first fights that he had ever refed before, and he was on the pay-per-view. I think it was the pay-per-view. Might have been one of the smaller cards. I don't remember. But yeah, it was like his 5th or 10th fight reffing. And it's like pro fight reffing. And it's just like, and he's doing this fight is like, oh my god, no. Like, and then of course he fucks up an entire fight with I think it was an early stoppage on that one too. you know You hate to see it. You can always tell when the local guys don't know, "Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%." And that's exactly what I was getting at the BFL one. I freaked out at the time too. Like, I'll tell you how bad it was. It was Dario Synagoga. He was a minus 600 something favorite, and he goes in, trying to get something going right away. He's a massive favorite. There's like a 15-year age gap too, by the way. And gets hit by the other guy, stumbles a bit backwards. And before he even gets a chance to stand back up, by the way, nothing, no terrible body language, no stiffening, no like, oh shit, he's got his eyes rolled back, nothing. Like literally clear the entire time. Gets hit by a couple of light shots on the ground. On his way back up, ref stops it. And it's like 50, I think it's like 11 seconds into the fight. So he takes away. Oh, by the way, he's undefeated too. So he destroys his undefeated record, takes away the minus 600 favorite, gives it to the underdog. 15-year age difference. The older guy gets it. An 11-second KO. And the guy, Synagoga's just sitting there on the ground like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what the fuck just happened? Did you actually just stop this fight? Yeah. So when you see shit like that, it's like, oh no. I really, really hope we don't see something like that, especially when it goes to Vancouver. Could you imagine the first time it goes back to Canada in years and we see something like that? We would get crucified. They would never want to come back to Canada. Fuck. So yeah, I hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, worst stop, one of the worst, maybe not the worst stoppage I've ever seen, but definitely one of the worst for sure. Especially taking away somebody's undefeated record like that. I'm trying to look for my notes on the Pavlovich fight because I didn't transfer my notes over via airdrop to the laptop. It's still on my phone here. But good pick, Pavlovich last week. Good pick on that one. You need more fighters around. Yeah, 1000%. They should be reffing more and they should be judging more because I guarantee you wouldn't see all these dumbass fucking scorecards if you were a fighter because you'd know that's ridiculous to score things like how we've been seeing. They know, like, they're very good at scoring fights. You see it on Twitter all the time too. They're scoring their fights all the time. I never see anything too crazy, so it's like they're just like us where they see it the same kind of way, and it usually we're more right than the judges. So yeah, they really should be reffing and judging more for sure. I just don't think they want to because they have to go through the certification process. Then they might start to get, they might get shit all over on Twitter if they make a bad mistake. They probably just don't want that. So I see why they don't, but should they? Yeah, probably. Oh yeah, okay. Pavlovich landing big early, wobbling blades a couple of times early. Blades started to land a little bit more on the counter. Pretty active fight for heavyweights. I mean, it was quite an insane couple of minutes, that's for sure. Then Blades got dropped with a bomb straight to his knees. Did jump back up. I was a little surprised that he got back up the first time. And I think even then, I think even Pavlovich, actually, he did say himself. Pavlovich said himself, he was like, I could have ended it a little bit earlier, but I was being a little patient. And I kind of saw that too, because when he dropped to his knees, normally Pavlovich would just go in, but he kind of didn't. He just stood, he was like, and then he stood back, and then Curtis Blades got back up, went kind of closer to the fence, and then Pavlovich started to kind of go from there. But yeah, which I get. You don't want to follow Blades to the ground. Why would you do that? Just let him stand back up. So even from that perspective, pretty smart. But yeah, Blades eating some huge shots, went for a takedown, wasn't even close to getting it. Pavlovich then landed a couple more combos, dropped Curtis, ground and pound, fight over. Easy win, as expected. No sweat. Dominated. And what did we say? I think even you said it too last week about Pavlovich. I mean, I had him. I think I even had him in a couple of the parlays too. I was so confident that Pavlovich was going to win this. I even said it. I was like, every single time that Blades goes against a power puncher, he gets knocked out in the first round. It happens every single time. It's only happened, it's only happened to him twice, I think, or three times, but it does happen every single time. So it's kind of like, I don't really see any other way that this ends. I was not surprised. Neither were you. Easy win. Blades would have been better off doing a Ben Askren and risk the KO. To be honest, yeah, he actually probably would have been better off playing at the casino, not even caring about Blades. Yeah. Yeah, he honestly, yeah, and I think a lot of people were saying that too. It's like, why would you even truly though, why would you even try and strike with somebody like Pavlovich? That's stupid. Like, not only are you not even close to being as good of a striker as Pavlovich, you also have a reach disadvantage. He's bigger than you. He hits way harder than you. And yes, he's also a way better striker than you. So just where does it even come into play that you should even be thinking about striking? Like, yeah, just 100% start grappling for sure. Even if Pavlovich sees it coming a mile away, do it anyway, because it's really your only chance. I completely agree. Yeah. Yeah, he was never going to win with anything close to that. That's for sure. And then, of course, we saw that Pavlovich is as good of a wrestler as I kind of figured he would be, just shutting down the takedowns. I mean, I think, yeah, if you catch him off guard, land on top of him, I think Pavlovich would have a very hard time getting back up, for sure. Getting to the top, yeah, exactly. But, what was I gonna say? Yeah, like, I think if you caught him off guard, I think you could easily keep Pavlovich down depending on who you are. Like, I think Jones could do that if he caught him off guard. But, I mean, can you do that 5 rounds in a row? Like, can you just constantly 5 rounds in a row somehow catch Pavlovich off guard and get a takedown like that and lay on top of him? I don't think so because his takedown defense pretty solid. So I really the main takeaway that I got from this is that yes, he is as good as I thought he was, but also I don't really know who could possibly beat him. I really don't know. I don't think that there is anybody in the UFC that can beat him. The only person that I think that would have a chance is Ngannou, and we all know I don't think he's coming back. I'd be a little surprised, but maybe. Actually, no, I wouldn't be too surprised if he came back to the UFC, but Dana's not happy, so I don't know. Do you think they will try to do a Pavlovich fight with someone else before the Jones fight because it may take a while? I think they should. But I mean, and really, what does he lose from doing another one? Like I even just said it. Oh, no way he comes back. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, there's no way Ngannou's coming back anytime soon. But even then, it's like that's what I'm saying is he's really the only chance. And that's what I'm about to say too, is it's like, yeah, they can run, they can throw Pavlovich in there for any card they want to, because guess what? Not gonna change. He's gonna get a first round knockout pretty much every single time. Truly. And I really do believe that, which is why I picked him for the first round knockout for this one, because really Blades was kind of the biggest challenge for him, except for maybe Gon, which is probably what they would do. They would probably get Gon in there. But again, Gon is smaller. He's got a huge reach disadvantage, and he was almost knocked out by by Tuivasa. So it's like if you get not basically knocked out because he was flash knocked out by Ty, can you really go in there with Sergey? I don't think so. And I mean, it's going to be 5 rounds. So can even Gon, you know, avoid that for 5 rounds? I don't know. I mean, he did it. He did do it with Francis, to be fair, but the reach though, it's the reach too, because he's got like an 83-inch or 84-inch reach. Like it's not just that he's huge and he's strong. It's like the arms are like fucking ridiculous. Like so I don't know. I don't think he loses to anybody. So yeah, I think they should. I don't see why not. Because again, I just don't think he's going to lose. So why not put him against? Yeah, that's actually a great call. I really do think that probably is for both of those, Blades and Gone. That's a great matchup for both of them. I actually think that's perfect for both. I never even thought of that, to be honest. I think that's a great matchup for both of them. Aspinall, Sergey, there's no way they would put Aspinall in that right away. There's no way. Because, I mean, you got to remember, Aspinall, huge, terrible injury. So always, every single time when that happens, the fight back, it's something easier. So they'll give him somebody that he can just blow out of the water in the next one. Which, by the way, actually, would that not be a good idea for the main event in London in July? Like, is that not? Why is that not a thing yet? Aspinall in London, July main event. I don't know who, but would that not be the one that makes the most sense to me? I don't know, because it's not going to be a pay per view. Remember that it's not going to be a pay per view. So I think that's perfect. Aspinall in the main event, make it happen. But yeah, um, no, they wouldn't do Sergey right away. I mean, that's just because either way, because they don't like killing off top contenders. I don't know if you've noticed. They don't like to do that too often. In this case, they kind of had to get a next title contender. But, you know, like you don't really want to kill off Aspinall. And Sergey's doing so well that if Aspinall gets the takedown, gets the takedowns, I don't think Pavlovich is gonna be able to defend the submissions, to be honest. I mean, of Aspinall, because Aspinall is insanely good on the ground. So, yeah, I don't think you really want to kill off Pavlovich that easy too. So I don't think they would do that. But yeah, Volkov, Aspinall, yeah, like, well, they already did that though. They already had Aspinall and Volkov. That was actually the main event in London. The first time they went back to London, that was the main event, Volkov Aspinall. So they wouldn't do that again. That wouldn't make any sense. But they might actually do, to be honest. Oh, actually, no, no, it's too soon now. I was gonna say, to be honest, they should probably do the rematch. They should probably do Aspinall and Blades, but they're not gonna do that because Blades was just finished. So I don't think they would have him fight late July against Aspinall. I don't think that would make much sense. Which would mean, of course, then you'd have to have another main event. Which you could. I mean, you could put Aspinall against Blades in the rematch and just move it to, you know, September, something like that. Could have that for sure. But yeah, tough to say. I really hope they get Aspinall back soon. I really do think that he should be the next champ. Um, if it's not Pavlovich knocking the shit out of somebody, it should be Aspinall for sure. I lost the connection for a second there. Everyone has fought each other. That's the problem. Yeah, that's really the problem with the heavyweights because, well, and a couple of other divisions too, because with the heavyweights, as soon as you get to like eighth or ninth in the rankings, like off a fucking cliff, there is nobody, nobody between like after 10. Like, really the best person in that mix, like 10 to 15, is Jailton Almeida, who is absolutely insanely good. Could be a future double champ, truly. I really believe that. He's that good. But he's more of a light heavyweight fighter than a heavyweight. And are you going to be throwing him in there? Like, are we going to do Jailton Almeida against like Aspinall or Jailton Almeida against Pavlovich right now? Fuck no. No, you're not going to see that. Plus, it's not really based on, yeah, exactly. Well, not yet. I will say, not yet. Because now we're kind of seeing the generation come in that it is based on skill. Because Aspinall, skill. Gone, skill. Pavlovich, mostly knockout, to be honest. But yeah, you're right, though, that obviously everybody else, it's like, who can land that big who can land the punch first? That's really it. But yeah, I think we're starting to slowly get into the generation now where it's like we're gonna see all of them like in every division be pretty well rounded. But yeah, we're obviously not quite there yet. Oh, and Jailton, I just said that too. That's another heavyweight. Well, heavyweight, light heavyweight, whatever. That's also skill for sure. For sure, skill at that point. But yeah, we're getting there. I can't wait for the day where, because we're going to get there, where every single division is going to be like everybody's super well rounded, and it might take like literally 10, 15, 20 years to get there, but trust me, in 20 years, I mean, the skill of everybody, any division is going to be mind blowing how good people are. Because I mean, even just think of what I didn't, I mean, I wasn't even watching obviously 10 years ago, but trust me, like, look at MMA 10 years ago, like, look up on Fight Pass or whatever 10 years ago and look and compare that to now. It's like, I mean, holy shit. Like, if you throw Chimaev, I mean, come on. Like, if you throw Chimaev in there 10 years ago, that dude's going fucking, like, he could easily fight 10 times a year, get first round finishes in every single fight that he ever does. Like, that is how good he is compared to people back then. It's like, nah, like, it's not even close. So, I mean, 20 years from now, I think honestly, most people in the top 5 are going to be that good where, anybody has a chance, and everybody in the top 5 could probably destroy anybody that's on the roster right now, pretty much, except for, like, the few here and there, like Chimaev and Almeida and blah, 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 on and on and on. But yeah, or Islam even, people like that. But yeah, I think that's what you're gonna see, and I can't wait. Thankfully. Well, I don't know how old you are, but thankfully, I'm young enough that I will definitely, well, hopefully, unless somebody kills me or something, I will see that happen, and I can't wait. I can't wait for the sport to evolve to that point where everybody's just insanely good. Love it. Anyway, I've been rambling on for quite a while now. Gotta take a short minute-long break, and then we will come back, talk about this card, UFC Vegas 72. Again, bit of a weird card, lots of changes all over the place. Even with today and yesterday, there's changes all over the place. So who knows what this card's going to be like in a couple more days. Oh, you're 20? Cool. Nice. I am definitely older. I mean, I'm only 27. I'm not old either, but still. I'm almost 30. I'm on my deathbed over here. Yeah, so we'll take a short break and we will come back and talk about this card. I will see ya in a bit.
Allow me to introduce High Stick Vodka, a new way to celebrate victory. Gather around the glass with an award-winning, ultra-premium Canadian-made vodka. You probably won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka has a smooth, hard-hitting taste, or that it's developed in the birthplace of hockey. You won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka is a tribute to the game of hockey, or when I tell you it's distilled 4 times using Canada's purest mountain spring water to provide an authentic, remarkable flavor. But maybe you will listen when I say it comes in a f***ing hockey stick. Showcase your passion for hockey with our limited edition hand-blown hockey stick bottle. Whether you're celebrating victory or drinking to defeat, High Stick Vodka is better after every shot. Visit us at highstickvodka.com. It also comes in this regular bottle. Celebrate victory. Drink responsibly.
And we're back. UFC Vegas 72, another Apex card. One last one before we get a good pay-per-view in. And to be honest, I actually don't know what's after the pay-per-view. I don't actually know where we're going after that. I think it might still be at the Apex. I'm not quite sure. I hope I'm wrong about that. But one last one. So we'll open with the main card as always. That's opening, at least right now, with Waldo Cortez Acosta, Marcos Rogerio de Lima. That's a long one. Both of them long names. Yeah, this one really should not be all that close. Haven't really been impressed by Waldo Cortez Acosta at all. I mean, the 2 wins, I mean, could you have 2 less impressive wins? Jared Vanderas, the first one, Chase Sherman, the second one, struggled in both of those. I mean, Vandera almost beat him with leg kicks. Sherman was doing okay with the grappling. I mean, he seriously did almost lose both of those ones. This one, I mean, the step up in competition is through the fucking roof. He just fought too. I mean, again, it's Sherman. It wasn't a crazy fight or anything, but still, he did just fight too. I'm not sure, but he might have actually been a last minute replacement for Rogerio de Lima's original opponent too. So it's just all over the place, not looking good on the Cortez Acosta side. Gotta go de Lima, and especially since de Lima, I mean, what are his last finishes here? Yeah, he's recently coming off a first round finish over Andrei Arlovsky. I mean, I think Andrei Arlovsky would pretty easily beat Acosta, or Cortez Acosta. So it's kind of like, I don't really see what Cortez Acosta is going to have for de Lima at all. He's just way better at grappling, and he's a submission artist too. And he's like, Cortez Acosta is a boxer who's not great at anything other than boxing. So I don't really think this is going to be all that close. I don't know if he's gonna get the finish. I don't know if it's gonna be a decision. I actually wrote down decision here, but to be honest, I mean, if he gets a takedown, I think it's over. So I would actually even see a finish on this one. Either way, I mean, I'm going to Lima on this all day. Minus 184. Chase Sherman is hard to watch. He's still somehow here. He's he is still somehow in the UFC. How? I have absolutely no idea, especially after that loss to Cortez Acosta. Because with a loss like that, you're out. Get out of here. Like, seriously, I don't know why he's still here. But he's here because he even had a fight actually booked a couple weeks ago that was canceled. Maybe they'll cut him after that cancellation. Who knows? Anyway, minus 184 for DeLima. Gotta go into that. Oh, they cut him and brought him back, did they not? Oh, that could be. I didn't hear that, but that's definitely plausible. Oh, actually, no. I think you're right. I think I remember seeing that on the Roster Watch. I think Roster Watch did post that originally that Chase Sherman was cut. So yeah, that could be. That definitely could be. Anyway, minus 184 all day. I'm taking those odds on DeLima. In fact, I really thought it was probably going to be a bigger favorite. I guess maybe because he hasn't fought in a while, the numbers are a little lower. I'm not really sure, but yeah, minus 184. Definitely taking that. Over under 1.5, minus 148 for over 1.5, under 1.5 plus 114. I mean, I did just say I was kind of leaning towards the decision, but we're talking about heavyweights. It's also, I would say, a pretty clear mismatch if DeLima gets the takedown. So plus 114, it's definitely not the worst idea to throw a couple bucks on, that's for sure. Plus 114 plus money on a first round finish or a couple minutes into the second round. Not bad. I'd be taking that. I think I'm taking that. Second fight, Julian Erosa, Fernando Padilla. This is definitely a mismatch. I don't really know why. Oh, actually, no, I do know why this fight was made. Erosa originally had, or actually, no, I think it was Padilla had, one of these two had a fight booked and the other guy canceled. And this is what happened. Now I honestly can't remember who came first. I think it, I think it was Erosa who came first. Oh, fuck. I can't remember. Shit. I can't remember. And I don't need to look it up. But yeah. Either way, Erosa is the obvious choice here. Obvious choice here. He's beaten Hakeem Dawodu, who's incredible. Beat Jourdain, who's been a bit iffy recently, if we're being honest. Beat Landwehr, early finish on that one too. And he's going against somebody who's making their UFC debut. Not only that, watch the tape. He was okay. I think he can be around the UFC, but not with somebody who's in the top 20, because Erosa is in the top 20. So it's kind of like, this is not a good place to be making your debut. And yeah, he even Padilla actually lost. I think it was LFA. I can't remember where. I think it was LFA though. So he even has a loss just a couple of years ago. I think it was 2019 or something like that. So he has a recent loss in a lower promotion. Oh yeah, that's right. I actually wrote it here. He lost to Spike Carlisle. I don't know if you've been watching long enough to know who Spike Carlisle is, but that's not a good loss to have. So he lost to Spike Carlisle. Oh, and a split decision. Both. Oh, the split decision win was that was an LFA, so that was a win. But those were two of his three last fights. So in his three last fight, it was a win, a split decision win in LFA, and a loss to Spike Carlisle. And you're going against Julian Erosa. I don't think that's that's not a recipe for success. So Erosa pretty clearly going with that. Oh, the odds are fucking around with me on here. Shockingly, we've got some good odds on this one. Minus 138. Minus 138 for Erosa. I don't know why it's this close at all. Truly, I do not know why it would be this close at all. That is shockingly close. I've heard Spike in that context, so I understand. Yeah, yeah, rough. He's doing okay in Bellator, Spike Carlisle, but not gonna be doing well in the UFC. I don't think he'd be beating anybody in the UFC anymore. Like, the featherweights are just, I think this is featherweight. They're just way too good in the UFC to be yeah, to be losing to Spike Carlisle. Um, so yeah, minus 138. I mean, those are incredible odds for something like that. I don't know why they're that low, truly, I really don't. Um, I don't know what to tell you. I'd be jumping on those odds all day. Minus 138. Over under. I will say though, he could get a finish for sure because there is a pretty huge gap in skill, I would say, but they're both in a lot of decisions. Padilla's also never been finished. So decision makes a lot more sense. And funny enough, that's actually plus money, plus 125 for the over 2.5. So even at plus money, you got to take it. I mean, again, Padilla's never been finished. Erosa in quite a few decisions as well. Plus 125. I mean, yeah, you got to put some money on that too. Because that's really, I should probably say that the betting style I kind of go for, well, it depends on the matchup, but usually if it's close, like if it's like, okay, this person, they both reasonably have a chance to win, you should probably be going for the underdog because there's a better return. Same thing for the over under. That tends to be what I go with. Unless it's like, I'm pretty fucking sure it's going to go this way. Then I'll go, I don't care what the odds are. I'll go with what I think it is. Yeah, that's kind of the betting style I go for because there are different approaches, and I've changed my approaches over time too. But this is actually really starting to work now. I've been seeing definitely more profit going with this direction for sure. What was I going to say? So yeah, profit definitely more towards the over 2.5. After that, lost where I was for a second. Cody Brundage, Rodolfo Vieira. I gotta say, this one is a little bit close, kind of. I don't know. I've actually been going back and forth on is this a close fight or not? Not who's gonna win. I'm confident Vieira. I'm confident on that pick. Like I would never be choosing Brundage, but it's more, am I confident enough in Vieira to be putting down a lot more money and be putting him in more of the parlays? That's kind of where I'm at right now. Is I'm not sure how confident I am in Vieira because he tires out so easily and Brundage does not tire out. That's frightening. Also, we just saw, well, we didn't just see this. This was a couple years ago. Vieira was submitted by Hernandez, who isn't really that great. He just got submitted by him because he was tired. And if you don't know how insane that is that Vieira got submitted, I mean, he's won the world championships for BJJ before. Like, he is one of the best jujitsu guys in the entire UFC. So for him to get submitted by somebody like Hernandez, it's like, yeah, no, he just got really tired, which makes me really worried because Brundage is also a grappler and he doesn't get tired. So it's kind of like, oh shit, like Brundage actually has a decent chance here. That being said, I think Vieira probably kind of maybe learned from his mistake. So hopefully that won't happen again. I've got to bank on that. I mean, he's just clearly way better than Brundage too. I don't know. Like, especially I would say what changed my mind to like Vieira is going to win this is because of the Chris Curtis fight. Because if you can last 3 rounds with Chris Curtis, I think you can probably last with most people at that point because Curtis does have a pretty good cardio. So, you know, I think since Vieira passed that test, I think he's probably kind of over that getting gassed super early. Yeah. So all that is to say, I'm fairly confident in Vieira in this. Definitely not going in the other direction. That's all I got to say. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that's extremely relevant that Brundage got knocked out because Vieira's not going to be doing a whole lot of punching. So it's like, like, is his chin really going to be tested against Vieira? Probably not. So at that point, I don't know if it's super relevant, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the best sign. But anyway, anyway, back to the pick. Minus 250, I should say back to the odds. Minus 250 for Vieira. I would say that's just a pretty clear parlay opportunity. You're not going to be, yeah, he has had time off, but still, yeah, it depends on the person. That's what you'll find as the more you watch UFC. It's like some people, yeah, when they get knocked out, that actually might be the end of their career. That's a bad knockout can do that. But some people, doesn't matter. Absolutely does not matter. I mean, and we just saw that with Izzy too. He's kind of one of those guys where it really doesn't matter. Not that he was knocked out cold or anything, but still, it just affects different people differently. Like Usman, I don't think knockout really affected Usman at all, and that was only 5 months ish, 4 or 5 months. So, yeah, tough to say, but you're right. It does make people more hesitant too, and Vieira's a pretty big guy, so maybe he would be a little more hesitant. Who knows? Anyway, plus 200 for Brundage. Not taking that. Over under. Interesting. Over under 1.5. That's actually at dead even money, minus 113 both sides. So 1.5. That's actually a tough one, I gotta say. That is way more tough. I think I'd be taking the over. I mean, it is, like I said, it's tied too. Like literally dead even minus 113. Mm-mm. You can tell that I make these choices on the on the fly here, these over under ones. Oh yeah. AKA Cody Garbrandt. Yeah. That's a tough one. That is a tough one, Cody Garbrandt. He has been getting better though, but yeah, you're right. I mean, his chin was tested one too many times for sure. Man, I think I'm going for the over on this. I mean, Vieira. Oh, actually, no. No, never mind. I'm going for the under because I just realized why I picked first round submission for Vieira in the first place on Tapology. And it was because Vieira has a lot of first round finishes. Brundage has multiple first round losses. So when you go by that, it makes more sense to go with the under in that case. Because, yeah, they both get. Not only does Vieira get early finishes, but Brundage gets finished early. So that's not really a good combination. Brundage also pretty reckless. He tends to run into things. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ran into a takedown and, well, he's going to be grappling anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if he got aggressive on the ground and just got submitted. I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, I've decided under 1.5. We're going to get it. The next one, Caio Borralho, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Completely one-sided, absolute fucking mismatch. No idea why this was made, other than to give Caio Borralho a great win in the co-main event. I honestly think that's probably why they did it, because this is not a good matchup. It's not a close matchup at all. Borralho, I mean, he is so unbelievably good. He's actually part of this new wave that I was talking about earlier. He's one of those guys where it's just like, he's super smart and he's extremely well-rounded. His striking is unbelievable. His grappling is like, holy shit, his grappling is good. So, I mean, he's just one of these new wave guys where it's just like, wow, you can't beat these. You got to have a really well-rounded skill set to beat somebody like this. And Oleksiejczuk is about as far away from that as you could possibly get. There's no way that Borralho loses this fight. He should be able to get a pretty early finish too, I would think. I mean, it's just not even close. It doesn't even matter whether it's on the feet or on the ground. Caio can easily win this in the first round. It truly does not matter. knockout, submission. He could easily win in the first round. This is really not even close. Minus 367. Parlay that all day. I am putting that in almost all the parlays. Obviously, you don't want to put them in all of them. I have made that mistake before and gotten burned by Shevchenko. I did do that. I got burned by Shevchenko and Nunes. I made the same mistake twice. Never again. I'm never making that mistake again, getting burned by one person like that. At least we still know the co-main. Yes, that's true. Well, I don't know. Actually, no. I can't say that the co-main is full of skill. I would say that half of the co-main is full of skill. The other half is about to get finished pretty early. Yeah. The over-under, they are favoring the under, minus 160, under 2.5. Yeah, I'm going that all day. In fact, I would actually, ooh, Bogalio has been in a lot of decisions, so I kind of get why they're close. But yeah, no, I mean, if you watch it, I mean, to be honest, really, if you watch all of them, every single one of Caio Borralho's fights in the UFC and the Contender Series, it's kind of like he's dominating every single second of these fights. It's just his opponents seem to be just super tough, that they just don't want to be finished. Like he had, if I would say if they were kind of anybody else, he would have gotten finishes in most of those. So I think this will be the time that he finally gets a good finish in the UFC itself, because he did get a finish on the Contender Series, not so much in the UFC, except for that technical decision, which was weird. He was dominating him, could have easily gotten a TKO, and then he lands one silly illegal strike. And then the fight's called basically because the guy wants out. He's like, I'm going to lose anyway. I'll just play it up. Doesn't get a no contest, obviously, because it was by accident, but still plays it up, gets the technical decision. You know, he was going to get a finish there. So it's like, I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, that's just to say definitely going for the under. And that is actually a great question. I mean, I should really be putting these up more because people are probably thinking that I'm just talking to myself the whole time. I mean, I usually do talk to myself the entire show, but at least this time we've got questions. And it's good to show like, hey, this person's asking the question. This is what the exact question was. So they don't think I'm making up questions or some shit. Do I find fight nights or pay-per-views easier to bet on? There is a very clear answer to that. As soon as you start betting, you will know exactly what I mean. Pay-per-views, far and away, no question about it, much, much easier to bet. And I think the UFC actually does that on purpose because they want people to be more engaged with their cards. So they make these fights go in there. You know, they make these especially really one-sided fights. You'll notice it a lot in the pay-per-views. If you haven't noticed it yet, you'll notice it now that I'm saying it. They put a lot more one-sided fights in the pay-per-views, which make parlays a lot easier, which means that people want to watch the card more because they can bet more because there's parlays, there's easier fights to bet on. Yeah, so really they make a lot of the fights easier to bet on the pay-per-views. So yeah, they do that. I think they honestly do that on purpose. So yeah, you'll see that now that I pointed out, you'll probably notice it. But yeah, what was I gonna say? Because especially since on these cards, you'll notice now the odds are a lot closer. You'll see a lot of minus 150, minus 120, minus, you know, you'll see it. You'll never really see too many that are above like minus 300. They just don't necessarily do that as much on the smaller cards. Not as much anyway. You'll still see it like on here, Bohalio minus 367. But I mean, other than that on this card, Egger. Egger is the only one that's above minus 300. And by the way, I don't like Egger in that fight. I really don't. I actually think we might see a huge upset there with Egger. But anyway, you see what I mean? Like, there's two fights above minus 300, and they're still in that minus 300 range, Whereas pay-per-views, you see -500, -600, -900. And that happens every single pay-per-view. They do it on purpose, for sure. Yeah. Also, you see that what they end up doing is they want people to win from that region. So like in Brazil, we saw the fights favor the Brazilians a little bit more. In London, we see the fights favor the British people a little bit more. So again, that even makes it a little easier to pick because the UFC knows like, okay, this matchup is slightly more favorable to the British person. Let's do that. Which makes it a lot easier to bet when you think of it like that. It doesn't always work out. I'll be honest. Obviously, doesn't always work out, but more often than not, that's how they end up for sure. Uh, Makes sense. Yes. Which most people don't really think of. They just think of, like it doesn't matter where we are, the fights are all going to be the same. That's not the case. And it's not even about the style matchups either. I mean, holy shit, have we seen this? I mean, we've seen this so many times actually. We saw it with, I mean, fucking like we saw that with Patty the Batty. I mean, literally because the crowd was so loud. That's basically why he won that fight on the cards, is because the crowd was so loud. So when you have the home field advantage, the judges may not try to give the fight to them, but they are influenced by some of these things. Also, the fighters themselves are influenced by these kinds of things, Like somebody fighting a British fighter in London, probably not going to be as confident because you're getting booed and yelled at constantly. It doesn't affect everybody, but it does affect some people. So it does affect the betting. People don't necessarily think about that. Main event. Song Yadong, Ricky Simone. I got to say, I'm kind of 50-50 on this one. I'm interested to see what you got to say about it. Song on the one side, more so, I don't want to call him a power puncher, but he's definitely, like he's not really a decision fighter. Let's just say that. He's more going for a finish the whole time, really pressing hard for a finish all the time. Whereas Ricky Simone, he is kind of doing a similar thing, but he can also take it to a decision, and his style kind of favors the decision more with the grappling, especially. So I don't know. I've kind of been leaning back and forth. Let me see what I wrote down here on my notes just so I don't forget anything. Oh yeah, Song finished Julio, RSA, Marlon Moraes. I mean, are those really the most impressive finishes you can get? So already it's kind of like, is he as good as we think he is? I mean, he's pretty good, but is he really at the level that we're kind of building him up to be, Song Yadong? Is he? I'm not quite sure. And then, of course, we saw him. I mean, I wouldn't say he got destroyed by Sandhagen, but I mean, it definitely was like he's getting hit a lot. And then, of course, the grappling of Sandhagen actually was a huge difference maker for Sandhagen in that fight. Simone, he hasn't really gotten the attention, obviously, because he's never really been in that main event spot. Doesn't really get any press or hype or anything, but he's definitely good enough. I mean, he finished Jack Shore, which is pretty impressive. So I don't know. Let's see, where are we here? That was the first one. Fuck. I forget, because I know I had some pretty good points in here, but now I can't remember. Oh yeah, Song. Oh, that's what it was. Song is an extremely powerful striker with decent grappling. I think that's pretty fair. Like, I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying that's a good point. I'll get to that after I finish this point for sure. I'll throw it up there. Song, very good, powerful striker, but decent grappling. Simone, unbelievable high-paced grappling and good at striking. So they're both well-rounded, but you can definitely see where the advantages are. And what made the difference to me is that this is a 5-round fight. If this was a 3-round fight, I might be leaning towards Song. But because this is a 5-round fight, I don't know. I think because it's a 5-round fight, I think the grappling is what makes the difference, because if you're struggling with grappling against Sandhagen, you're going to be in for a rude awakening when you go in there with Ricky Simone. And I'm not saying he looked bad against Sandhagen, but let's be clear, like, Sandhagen's not a grappler. Like, and he was doing pretty well with the grappling, Sandhagen was. So, I mean, Simone is like just way, way better of a grappler than Sandhagen. So if you're already kind of struggling at that point, it might be too much. And you only have to win 3 rounds. Remember that. You don't have to win all 5. You don't have to get a finish. You just got to win 3 out of the 5 rounds. And I think that the grappling of Simone would probably win 3 out of the 5 rounds. That's where I've landed on it. But let's see what you got here. Song Yadong seems to learn a lot during his fights, I find, at least. You are very right. That's actually a very good observation. Survived against Sandhagen, and I think he will really want to show some skill. It's weird how much I agree with you. We're on the same page all the time. It's crazy. It really is. I do agree with you, which is why I'm actually nervous about this pick, because if Ricky Simone fought Song Yadong from that fight, I think Simone wins for sure. But coming into this fight with everything that he's learned, and you're right that he's learning a lot because he's only 22 or something like that. Like, he's like 22, 23. I mean, listen, he's not 30. Like, I mean, well, actually, funny enough, Ricky Simone is 30. So he's like peaked. Like, this is going to be his peak. Ricky Simone is like, this year, making you second guess yourself now a little bit, but I'm still confident. I'm still making the Simone pick, but I'm getting a little bit closer for sure. But the point is, what was I going to say? Oh, fuck. Shit. I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Ricky Simone. Oh, yeah. Simone's 30. Yes. Oh, Song is 25. Interesting. So when you see that, I mean, that's not a crazy difference. That's like basically the same. But what you can kind of gauge from that is that Simone is still probably learning and getting better, but he's more of a finished product in terms of his style. So he's not going to be changing his style a whole lot. So he will be heavy into the grappling. I don't think that's going to change. But yes, Song being 25, that's a different story because he is still learning a lot and is still changing quite a bit. So that's what worries me a little bit. And that is why I wasn't sure about this pick at first, because yeah, you could definitely see Song come in here, amazing grappling, be able to shut it down pretty easily, get the striking going. Yeah, 100% you could definitely see that for sure. That's what I'm worried about a little bit. Which is why, betting, it's not a sure thing, for sure. I'll start contesting these picks and people will start that you're arguing with yourself. I argue with myself constantly. That is how I make my picks. I really do, like, truly. Because I just think, okay, well, if I were to pick Simone, how could this go wrong? That's kind of how I think. It's like, how do I think this fight is actually going to play out? And then I do argue with myself constantly. Yeah, it's a crazy way of doing it, but it does usually work. On Tapology, I'm at 70%, so it's definitely it works, but yeah, makes me look crazy for sure. What was I gonna say? But yeah, I am landing on Simone. It's the grappling for me. Got to make a pick. That's the pick. I just think Simone is going to be able to win 3 out of the 5 rounds, get the decision, and get the hell out of there. And minus 19 for Simone now. So he is a slight favorite. So if you're going based on my betting perspective, you should probably be picking Song Yadong because it's a 50-50 fight and he's got the better more value for sure on Song Yadong. So if you're going from that betting perspective, yeah, I'd be picking Song. But if you're trying to be right, I'm picking Simone, minus 119. Over under 4.5. They're both in a lot of decisions. So plus 108, that's what it's at right now for over 4.5. I mean, it's plus money for a decision. Bantamweights are usually in decisions. So I'm going with plus money on that. I like that. Plus money. Plus 108, over 4.5. Let's do that. Do I have a list of all my picks somewhere else to see? Well, actually, no, technically, no. I do. I have it written down. It's like I write an article every week, and that's on the Area 51 website. Really, if you just look at Twitter and then go to my Twitter page, the article's there. So you would just click on that. I write the articles I release them on Thursdays or Fridays, depending on how it goes. So it would be on Twitter. You'd just click on the article, and then it would have all of the picks that I say on here. But as for the rest of the card, I don't put those out. Those are on Tapology, and I also actually block my Tapology. Like, you can't see my picks on Tapology because of that. You can see them after, because Tapology releases all of your picks after the event is done, but you cannot see them before. That's just how I do it. I don't know. But eventually, what I do want to do is I will be revamping this show to include all of my picks, and then I would kind of cut out the recap part of it. Before I do that, now that somebody's actually listening to me when I'm saying this, I'm waiting I'm waiting for two things. I'm kind of waiting until I move out of here so that I can get my green screen back going and it looks cool again. And also, I want to make sure that my betting strategy works, because there's nothing worse than having a terrible betting strategy and then having a betting show and losing constantly. So I don't want to lose people a shit ton of money by giving them a bad betting strategy. So what I want to do first, make sure that the betting strategy is solid, and then I will switch my show to include all of my picks and how I structure all of my bets and everything. And that'll be the show when I do that. But until then, we're staying like this. And to be fair, I usually talk about the picks that I'm most confident about anyway, except for I give the whole main card, and then I give one or two prelims that I'm pretty confident about or that are entertaining, to say the least. That's usually what I go for. But yeah, good to know. Yes. Again, normally there's nobody here when I talk about it, so. But yeah, that is what the plan is, though, for sure. Yeah. I just want to make people money. I don't want to lose people money by suggesting bad things. Prelim picks. One. I've only got one this time because, it doesn't help that the fact that this half of this card is up in the air right now, getting just scrambled all over the place. So yeah, I only picked one. Cody Durden, Charles Johnson. I mean, complete mismatch, and easy money, especially since the odds on this are actually fairly close. I don't know why they're close. I really don't. Cody Durden, Charles Johnson. Durden, I mean, he got absolutely annihilated by Muhammad Mokaev and Jimmy Flick, by the way. He was finished by both of them. Yeah, he was subbed in the first round by both of them. And who is he going against now? An Olympic wrestler. Great matchup. So yeah, no, this is not going to be close. I mean, even outside of the grappling part of it, which is 100% in the Johnson side of it, Johnson has also done boxing fights as well. So he's actually probably a better boxer than Durden is. So just overall, I really don't see where Durden has a chance to win this fight at all. I really don't. That being said, Johnson seems to have a hard time actually getting a finish. So I think it's probably going to be a decision, but it is going to be one very lopsided decision at that. It is not going to be a question. Johnson should just completely run away with this win. And by the way, like I said, yes, Durden finished by both Jimmy Flick and Mohamed Mokaev. Johnson finished Jimmy Flick in the first round and lasted the entire fight against Mokaev and his wrestling. So, yeah, I just don't really see where Durden has any kind of avenue to win this fight at all, which is shocking to me that the the odds on this are so close. Minus 143 for Johnson. Like, I don't know if it's the name, like, maybe people don't know that he's as good as he is. Maybe it's just that his record doesn't necessarily look all that impressive because of his fights with Mokaev, and there was another guy that he had a close fight with too. But it's like Mokaev is like top 50. He is top 15 actually, and he lasted the whole time with him. I just don't. I don't know. Like maybe just people aren't betting on him. I don't really know why this is so close, but yeah, shouldn't be. Minus 143 parlay opportunity for sure. I am so confident about Johnson. I would genuinely be shocked. I would be dumbfounded if Johnson somehow lost this fight. And I pray that these judges don't completely fuck this up because that would be the only way I could see him losing this fight. And even then, I don't really see how he could. It's not exactly a big card, so probably less bets. Yes, and that is also what I was getting at too about the pay-per-view cards too. Well, actually, yeah. That's actually an argument for why these cards might be better. Because if you're just playing the odds, you might actually get more profit for these cards. Huh. You've actually made me look at this card a different way. These cards a different way now. Yeah, I guess there's benefits to both. Especially since, well, last week, I mean, 6 out of the 10 underdogs, like I said, they cashed in. So it was like, if you're betting underdogs, these cards are for you. That's for sure. So there could be more profit involved in these cards. But I think the pay-per-views are more predictable, which leads to more guaranteed profit, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. The fight nights would be better only because there are more journey fights. Yeah. I mean, I think you're more likely to see what I just said, which is like you're going to see a lot of the underdogs cash in. Um Yeah, and that's true with the pay-per-view too. Yeah, exactly. You have more fights to go off of too. Which is actually another point that I was going to say before that I just forgot. Yeah, pay-per-views are usually 14 or 15. So when you're doing parlays like we do, that's yeah, you're going to have a lot better chances to do the parlays for sure. And just more chances to get your money back cuz like you say you make, some silly mistake on one matchup, you can easily get it back somewhere else in the rest of the card. Whereas this, trust me, if you have a bad night, if you have a really bad night on a fight night, oh man, it makes you want to quit betting. Truly, like that's how bad it can get on these fight nights. If you're not betting it properly, you will get absolutely hammered. But yeah, anyway, oh yeah, right. I actually forgot, it's funny? I actually forgot to say my parlays last time because we were talking. That's how not used to talking to people I am. Is that I forgot to do a whole section last time. We're not forgetting it this time though. Parlays. We're gonna get right into it. And to be honest, this is not a card that you're gonna be doing parlays on. This is a scary, scary card to do parlays on. Trust me. This is rough. Let's see what we got. Nothing there. Nope. Egger is the biggest favorite, and to be honest, I actually think I don't know. I don't know if she should be the favorite on this one. I am changing the whole format. Yes. I'm trying to keep it down over here. Minus 313 for Egger. No. Not confident enough at all. Not putting her in the parlay for sure. Johnson minus 143. That's the first leg in the parlay. Oh my God. See, I forgot again. Over under. I forgot to do the over under for this fight. I'm favoring the over minus 209. Fuck, man. Those are not good odds. Again, because of the money, I'm switching it. I'm going for the under 2.5. It is plus 160. Plus 160 for under. Flyweight unders have been pretty good recently. Johnson did get a finish over Flick. It's pretty one-sided. Yeah, plus 160. I'll take it. I'm glad I did that because now I found another one that was plus money. Back to the parlays though. Johnson, leg number 1. I'm not confident in either Budai or Collier. Quinlan should win. So I'll put him as a leg in a couple of the parlays, minus 175. Quinlan, he should be able to get it. DeLima, minus 184. That's a good leg for the parlay. Erosa over Padilla. Yeah, that should probably be in most of the parlays. Actually, you know what? Now that I'm going through it, this is a good card for parlays because the odds are actually a lot closer than they should be too. So you could get some real good ones here. Vieta minus 250. Yeah, probably in most of the parlays. Bojalio, forget about it. Put it in like almost every single parlay. Again, I don't want to say every single parlay because again, that has fucked me up before. Almost every single parlay. Bojalio. And definitely staying away from the main event. So yeah, recap there. Bojalio, Vieta, Erosa, DeLima, Quinlan, Johnson, and that's about it. I would stay away from all the other ones for sure. Way too up in the air. There's some good looking underdogs on this card though. Wow. We could see another card 2 weeks in a row where we see a lot of underdogs win. Because underdog is, well, Yadong's an underdog. Yadong. Cowan, I think should be the favorite. She's an underdog, plus 116. The Kelleher fight is scrapped. That's going to be something else now. Alexieva, big underdog. She has a chance. Budai, underdog, good chance. Waters against Quinlan, maybe. It's a lot of underdogs. It's a lot of good looking underdogs. Maybe even Brundage. We talked about that. Brundage chance. Man. Yeah. Anyway, that is it for this card. Next week, we'll be back talking about the pay-per-view, of course, talking about this card. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what's after that. I still don't know what's after that. It's not even on the betting site either. But yeah, I will say though, after that, so next week I'll still be here. Everything will be good. But the week after that, I'm not really sure if I will be here or not. Interesting. This is not a strategy for any smart betting at all, but I always look for how the UFC Embedded is filmed and how the fighter is shown and what they are talking about. That tells me something sometimes. I will say, I mean, I'm not saying I have bet entire cards like that, but I will say there have been some interviews and even on Embedded a little bit, but more so the interviews sometimes were, or even actually at the weigh-ins. The weigh-ins to me, you watch those weigh-ins, you can really, really get some good info by watching those weigh-ins. I have switched at weigh-ins before and it's worked. I've switched because of some interviews I've seen, and I've switched because of that. It definitely is a valid strategy sometimes. Some people are skeletons. Yep. But also, did they make weight? Because they always say statistically you're more likely to win if you miss weight. I think that's true in general in MMA. I'm not really convinced that that's entirely true in the UFC because I tend to see actually the opposite now, where usually if you miss weight in the UFC, you actually start to lose. But yeah, it definitely yeah, I've been swayed by the weigh-ins a couple of times, and I was right most of the time when I've switched. There was also one where on the original card I had it one way. It was Ariane Lipski and Cajueda. Lipski couldn't make weight on the one week. They moved it. I think it was to the next week or the week after. They moved the weight class up, and I was like, "Lipski's done. She can't do this. She can't recover from a weight cut like that quickly. Like, she's gonna lose, 100% she's gonna lose, especially when she's facing a knockout artist and she's cutting weight like that. She's gonna lose." And what happened? Cajueda came in there, knocked her out in less than 3 minutes. I was like, "I'm so glad that I switched. I'm so glad that I picked Cajueda after that because it really was pretty much entirely because of the whole weight cut scenario. It just completely fucked her up." So if you pay attention to that, yeah, you can get some really good underdogs and some really good wins in there. Of course, there was also that one. I mean, I didn't cash in on. I actually had Norden Becca in this fight, but the Derek Minner and Norden Becca scandal. People find out that Minner's got a some kind of thing wrong with his leg, ends up getting knocked out in a minute. Then that was the whole James Krause situation. So yeah, I mean, you can also get into some trouble like that too. But we don't do that here. But, still learning from interviews and everything, that's okay. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. We're not getting insider info here. But yeah. What was I going to say? That was it. That's it, actually. As always, if you're interested in any of the other sports, Area 51 has you covered. I've got all the MMA stuff. All my socials are down below: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, I think, is on there too. I can't remember what I put on there at this point because I haven't really been fixing it recently. I should really do that. But anyway, that is it. I usually say something else. What am I forgetting to say? See, I get thrown off when I start talking to people. Again, not that I'm mad about it. I love this, but it does throw me off. Man, now I'm really thrown off. Now I'm looking silly over here. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. We will be back next time, see how the bets work out. I'm feeling pretty good about this week, to be honest. Knock on wood. Where's the wood? I will come back next time. Yeah, exactly. I will see you next time. And where is it? I will see you next time. There's my trailer. Bye.